Something's breaking in the motorcycle world, and most riders don't want to admit it. Sales are falling, showrooms are quiet, and the brands we built our lives on are losing customers faster than they can replace them. Dealers are desperate, prices are slipping, and 2026 might be the year a few of these legends finally stall out for good. So buckle up, because by the time we hit number 1, you'll see exactly which legendary brand might not make it past 2026. Number 7. Indian. There was a time when the Indian name stood shoulder to shoulder with Harley-Davidson, carrying the full weight of American pride and rebellion. That war bonnet on the tank wasn't just decoration, it was a statement. You rode one because you believed in heritage, in craftsmanship, in the deep rumble of a V-twin that felt alive under you. But lately, something's changed. The chrome still shines. The styling still turns heads. Yet the fire that once fueled Indian's rise has dimmed. Across the country, dealerships feel quieter. Showrooms that once buzzed with curiosity now echo with hesitation. Riders walk in, take a look, and walk back out, saying the same thing. Beautiful bike, but too much money, too much weight. The younger generation doesn't see the romance. They see a price tag that rivals a car payment. And for a company built on the shoulders of working men and women, that stings. Indian's story is a strange one. After being revived with high hopes and heavy investment, the brand seemed destined to reclaim its throne. The bikes had the muscle, the comfort, the touring strength to challenge anything on the highway. But that was only half the battle. What Indian never quite captured was the loyalty pipeline, the next wave of riders who would carry the brand forward. Today, the average owner is older, wealthier, and nostalgic, while the younger crowd scrolls past. It's not a failure of engineering, it's a failure of timing. The world shifted toward lighter, tech-driven machines, just as Indian doubled down on classic muscle and premium finishes. The result is a lineup that looks proud, but feels disconnected from the realities of new riders who want value and versatility more than polished heritage. It's a tough truth for a brand that builds motorcycles with undeniable quality, yet struggles to connect with those who didn't grow up dreaming of them. Still, there's a soul in every Indian that's hard to ignore. The stance, the sound, the presence. It reminds riders why they fell in love with motorcycling in the first place. But sentiment doesn't pay the bills, and passion doesn't always balance the books, unless Indian finds a way to bridge that generational divide, to build something that speaks to both the old guard and the new blood. Its future could narrow into nostalgia, a proud name remembered more than ridden. Every Indian carries the echo of open plains and the quiet promise of craftsmanship born from pride. It is a reminder that heritage isn't measured in sales charts, but in the way a machine makes you feel alive again. For now, the Indian stands as both a triumph and a warning, proof that legacy alone can't save a brand from the modern market. The next name on this list knows that struggle too, a legend built on beauty and heart that's now learning how hard survival really is. If you've been nodding along so far, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe for more straight-shooting breakdowns like this. Share your thoughts in the comments below, because riders like you keep these conversations honest and alive. Number 6. Moto Guzzi. Few emblems in the motorcycle world carry the quiet dignity of Moto Guzzi's eagle. For more than 100 years, it has stood as a symbol of Italian artistry machines built not just with tools, but with conviction. Each Guzzi has always carried something personal, that unmistakable side-mounted engine rumble that feels like a handshake from another era. But as the industry charges forward into a world of electronics and algorithms, Moto Guzzi seems to be standing still, proud yet uncertain about where the road ahead leads. This brand once shaped the very idea of European touring. Riders trusted those bikes to cross mountains and coastlines, their rhythm steady, their personality distinct. To ride one was to choose character over conformity. Yet somewhere along the way, the conversation moved on. Competitors added new technology, sleeker designs, and digital precision. Moto Guzzi held to its heritage. And while that loyalty to tradition wins respect, it also limits growth in a world that now judges performance by data and screens. Under the Piaggio Group's wide umbrella, Moto Guzzi often feels like the quiet craftsman in a room full of salesmen. Aprilia races, Vespa trends, and Guzzi simply endures. That endurance comes with a cost: fewer updates, slower production, and long waits for new ideas to leave the factory. For the older rider, that slow pace feels like charm. For new buyers raised on instant connectivity, it feels like hesitation. The question isn't whether Moto Guzzi still builds soulful motorcycles. It's whether soul alone is enough to keep doors open in the modern age. Walk into a dealership, and the pattern is easy to spot. A Guzzi sits gleaming under showroom lights. Its design, timeless. Its story, legendary. People stop, admire, nod, and then move on. They love the idea, but hesitate at the commitment. Owning one means patience, mechanical empathy, and a little stubborn pride. That used to be a badge of honor. Now, it's a harder sell to riders looking for plug-and-play convenience. Still, those who truly understand motorcycling know what a Guzzi offers. It is raw, unpolished, and deeply human. It reminds you that a motorcycle should have quirks, that the ride should feel alive. That heartbeat, that slight rock of the engine, is a conversation between machine and man that modern bikes can't replicate. It is the sound of craftsmanship refusing to fade quietly into uniformity. Every Moto Guzzi hums with the sound of memory steel shaped by patience, history built with human hands. It is the kind of motorcycle that teaches you to listen, reminding riders that authenticity and grace still matter in a changing world. Moto Guzzi stands at a crossroad caught between heritage and survival, between yesterday's identity and tomorrow's demands. It will either evolve without losing its soul or become a living monument to what once was. For riders who value legacy and authenticity, the hope is that the eagle still finds the strength to soar. Because once brands like this disappear, they never come back the same. And the next name on this list proves how fragile even the proudest legacy can become when identity starts to blur. While these brands struggle to hold on, make sure your setup's solid. Everything I ride with is linked in the description. Number 5. Benelli. There was a time when the Benelli name stood for the very essence of Italian craftsmanship. Elegance, precision, and pride poured into every weld. Born from a family workshop over a century ago, it grew into a symbol of European ingenuity, a brand that understood not just how to build motorcycles, but how to make them feel alive. Each bike had a pulse, a rhythm that spoke to riders who valued passion over perfection. Benelli didn't just build machines, it built relationships between rider and road. But like so many great names from the Golden Age, time caught up. The world changed, and Benelli struggled to keep pace. Costs rose, competitors multiplied, and the small Italian factory could no longer shoulder the burden alone. Ownership changed, production moved, and with that, something intangible slipped away. The brand that once built its reputation on craftsmanship and authenticity began to chase affordability and volume. For older riders who remember what it used to stand for, that shift feels like watching a friend lose his way. Today, Benelli sits in an uncomfortable middle ground, too storied to be forgotten, yet too compromised to command the reverence it once did. Its motorcycles are still handsome, still capable, but they no longer carry the same gravitas. The soul that once made riders proud to own a Benelli now feels diluted by corporate polish and global assembly lines. What was once a mark of excellence has become a lesson in survival. And while the machines remain serviceable, the aura that once surrounded the name has dimmed. Still, traces of the old magic remain. Look close enough and you can see it. The graceful frame lines, the echoes of Italian design, the stubborn spark of heritage refusing to die. There are moments, fleeting but real, when a Benelli still feels like it remembers its roots. Those moments remind us of the power of legacy, even when that legacy struggles to adapt. It's the difference between a motorcycle you ride and one you connect with. Benelli's challenge isn't about performance or price, it's about identity. The modern marketplace demands constant reinvention, yet the heart of this brand was always built on timelessness. The balance between nostalgia and progress has never been more fragile. To survive, Benelli must find a way to honor its past without becoming trapped by it. The soul of Benelli still whispers from Italian cobblestones. a mix of passion and melancholy. Its story reminds riders that beauty and imperfection often share the same road, and that heritage, once lost, can never be rebuilt exactly the same. For riders who remember when this name stood beside Ducati and Moto Guzzi as a beacon of Italian engineering, the decline hits hard. It's a reminder that heritage is only as strong as the people who carry it forward. Benelli still stands, still produces, still bears that proud badge, but it no longer commands the same reverence it once did. The next brand on this list shares a similar struggle, a legend that once seemed untouchable, now fighting to prove it still belongs on the road. Number 4, Royal Enfield. Royal Enfield carries one of the oldest and most respected names in motorcycling. Its roots stretch back to a time when motorcycles were built for endurance, not excitement machines designed to conquer distance rather than chase speed. For decades, that slow and steady heartbeat defined the brand's charm. Riders loved Enfield because it represented something familiar, something honest. It was the kind of motorcycle that didn't need validation from trends or technology. But today, that very loyalty to tradition is starting to weigh heavy. For generations, Enfield stood proud as a symbol of simplicity and dependability. The steady thump of its single-cylinder engine became the sound of working-class freedom across continents. There was beauty in its restraint, a refusal to rush into the arms of modernization. Yet, in an industry now obsessed with digital displays and advanced electronics, that old-school simplicity feels more nostalgic than relevant. New riders scroll past it, looking for adventure bikes with connectivity and performance metrics, while Enfield remains grounded in heritage. The brand's strength was always its character. Every Enfield, from the classic models to the modern updates, carried the soul of its origin. You could feel it in the way it idled, the way it handled uneven roads, and the way it made you slow down to enjoy the ride. It reminded riders that motorcycling wasn't about speed, it was about the bond between man and machine. But times have changed. The modern market wants polish and precision, not patina and patience. And as that demand grows louder, Enfield risks being seen as a relic rather than a rebel. Walk into a dealership, and you can still see what made Enfield special. The design language is pure, its stance confident but unpretentious. Yet, it struggles to find a new generation of believers. The older riders, who once swore by its simplicity, are aging out, and the younger crowd has too many choices, machines lighter, faster, and more advanced. For all its heritage, Enfield now faces a harsh truth. Nostalgia doesn't always translate into sales. Still, there's something to be said for a brand that refuses to lose its soul. Royal Enfield continues to embody authenticity in a world of shortcuts. For those who value the tactile feel of metal, the rhythm of a real engine, and the peace of a slow ride through open country, Enfield still delivers something special. But heritage alone cannot keep an engine running forever. The brand must evolve without losing the honesty that built it. Royal Enfield rides like a heartbeat from another time, steady and unhurried. It reminds every rider that peace is found not in arrival, but in motion, and that legacy, when cherished, becomes more than memory. It becomes identity. Royal Enfield now stands at a crossroads between reverence and relevance. Its survival depends on how it adapts, whether it finds a way to speak to new riders without betraying its essence. Because if that balance slips, this beloved name risks becoming a museum piece rather than a living legend. The next brand on this list knows that challenge well, a once proud icon of British grit, now fighting its own battle to stay alive in a modern world. If you value real talk about the motorcycles that matter, hit subscribe and stay tuned. The next few brands in this countdown might surprise you, and every new video brings the truth that corporate marketing never will. Number 3, Norton. Few names in motorcycling stir as much emotion as Norton. For older riders, it represents the sound of real power, the smell of hot oil on cold mornings, and the feeling of raw control that came before electronics softened the experience. Norton wasn't just a motorcycle, it was an attitude. Born from the grit of British engineering, it symbolized rebellion, craftsmanship, and pride. To own one was to join a brotherhood built on courage, not convenience. But that fire, once bright enough to light racetracks and back roads alike, now flickers in the shadow of uncertainty. Norton built its legend on race-winning machines like the Dominator and the Commando bikes that defined a generation of speed and style. Their beauty was in their simplicity, steel, sweat, and purpose. They weren't designed in boardrooms or optimized by software. They were forged by people who lived for the ride, who knew that the thrill of the road came with grease on your hands and wind in your chest. That kind of purity made Norton a legend, but legends are hard to keep alive in a world that prizes efficiency over soul. As time moved forward, the brand stumbled through financial storms and mismanagement. Each revival promised salvation. Each collapse left deeper scars. Even after new owners stepped in and fresh money poured into the factory, trust has been slow to rebuild. Riders who once saw Norton as a symbol of British pride now view it as a cautionary tale, a reminder of what happens when heritage isn't protected with discipline. The heart of Norton still beats, but it beats through a company struggling to reconcile its past with the demands of the present. Walk into a showroom today, and you'll find beautifully crafted machines wearing the Norton badge. They gleam like works of art, every line paying tribute to the glory days. Yet behind that polish lies a quiet anxiety. The bikes are exclusive, expensive, and elusive. The kind of machines admired more than owned. For a brand that once filled highways, that exclusivity is both blessing and curse. It preserves mystique, but it also distances the company from the everyday rider who made it great in the first place. The question now is whether Norton can rise again, not as a collector's dream, but as a living, breathing motorcycle company. Can it build bikes that connect with a new generation without losing the craftsmanship that defined it? Can it turn nostalgia into relevance? Only time will tell. But what's clear is that the soul of Norton endures, in the memory of every rider who ever heard that unmistakable exhaust note echo through the countryside. Norton's name still carries the scent of oil and rain on British soil. It represents the courage of riders who lived for the rush of the unknown, and the eternal truth that glory always demands a price worth paying. Norton's story is one of brilliance and heartbreak, of triumph and loss. It reminds us that legacy alone cannot keep a brand alive. It must evolve, adapt, and earn its place again with every mile. The next brand on this list understands that struggle all too well, a powerhouse of American steel now facing its own fight to stay meaningful in a changing world. Number 2, Harley-Davidson. No other name in motorcycling carries the weight, history, and myth of Harley-Davidson. For generations, it has stood as the living emblem of American freedom, rebellion, and craftsmanship. When riders talk about legacy, this is the brand they mean. The sound of that deep, uneven idle, the smell of fuel and chrome on a summer morning, the sense of power that comes not from speed, but from presence. Harley has never just sold motorcycles, it has sold identity. Yet, in the world we ride through today, that identity feels tested like never before. Harley-Davidson's story is one of triumph and survival. It built its name not by chasing trends, but by defining them. From World War service bikes to the rise of the post-war highway culture, Harley carved its legend into every American road. The machines were bold, heavy, and proud, made to last, not to impress. For decades, that formula worked, but the times have shifted, and so has the rider. The new generation values efficiency over excess, technology over tradition, and while Harley still commands respect among loyal veterans of the open road, its pull on younger riders has weakened. Step into a dealership today and you can feel both pride and tension in the air. The older crowd still shows up men who've ridden across states, who know their torque by sound alone, but the next wave hasn't arrived in equal numbers. To some, Harley now feels more like a luxury symbol than a working rider's tool. It has become polished where it once was raw, corporate where it once was rebellious. The brand's attempts to modernize through electric lines, adventure models, and sleek redesigns have sparked debate among its own faithful. The balance between evolution and authenticity grows harder to maintain with every passing year. But what Harley still holds, what it may never lose, is soul. Every time one of those old V-twins fires up, you can feel a century of defiance in its rhythm. Harley-Davidson represents an era when machines had character, when riders formed bonds that lasted longer than the asphalt beneath them. The rallies, the road trips, the shared silence between engines, those aren't marketing campaigns, they're memories etched into the steel. That's why, even as the market shifts, the brand refuses to die. It carries too much emotion to fade quietly. The company's future, however, will depend on more than nostalgia. Harley must rebuild its connection to the kind of rider who values not just power, but purpose. The kind who doesn't need touchscreen dashboards or software updates to feel alive. The kind who buys a bike for the sound, the smell, and the story. Because that's what Harley has always been, a story worth telling, and a machine that never needed to explain itself. Harley-Davidson is more than chrome and thunder. It is the rhythm of generations who refused to quit. Every mile carries the memory of freedom hard-earned, a symbol that pride and perseverance still matter in a world racing to forget them. Harley-Davidson's name still echoes through garages and highways alike, but the question now is whether that echo can grow into a roar again. To reclaim its throne, Harley will need to listen not to shareholders, but to riders, the men and women who built its legend 1 mile at a time. The final brand on this list faces its own crossroads, where speed, ambition, and overreach may soon test the limits of survival. Number 1. KTM. KTM has always been the outlaw of the motorcycle world, the bright orange streak that refused to blend in with anyone else. It built its name not on comfort or conformity, but on attitude. For decades, KTM stood for raw power, precision, and the kind of grit that came from the dirt tracks of Europe. Its machines didn't just perform, they demanded respect. Every model felt like it had something to prove, and every rider who threw a leg over one knew they were stepping into a different kind of experience. One built on risk, reward, and relentless motion. But the very aggression that made KTM famous has now become its greatest challenge. What began as a small, fearless racing company has grown into a global powerhouse, and that success carries a price. The brand that once built motorcycles with rebellion in its veins is now balancing boardrooms, shareholders, and a growing network of sister companies. Expansion brought influence, but it also brought confusion. Husqvarna, GasGas, and KTM now share more than engines, they share identity. And that's beginning to blur what made KTM unique in the first place. For the loyalists who remember the glory days, this shift feels like watching a wild horse get saddled by bureaucracy. KTM used to be about instinct and rebellion, the kind of brand that made you feel alive just standing next to one of its bikes. It was loud, sharp, and unapologetic. Now, some riders see too much polish, too much corporate control. The soul that once came from mud, sweat, and adrenaline feels trapped behind strategy charts and brand integration plans. The company still races, still wins, still innovates, but the fire feels different, colder somehow, more calculated than passionate. Even so, it's hard to deny KTM's influence. The brand changed how riders thought about performance, forcing the rest of the industry to evolve or fall behind. It created a new generation of motorcyclists who believed in pushing limits, not just cruising through them. Yet, as KTM reaches new heights, the question that echoes through the community is simple. Can a brand born from rebellion survive success? Can a company that built its reputation on risk keep its edge when it becomes the establishment? KTM stands today at a crossroads between legacy and longevity. It can keep growing until it becomes another corporate machine, or it can strip away the excess, remember its dirt roots, and reconnect with the emotion that built its empire. Because what made KTM special wasn't just speed, it was defiance. It was the idea that a motorcycle should feel alive, unpredictable, and raw. That's what riders fell in love with. KTM remains the heartbeat of rebellion, built on dirt, danger, and determination. Its story reminds riders that speed is meaningless without soul, and that true power isn't found in the machine, it's born in the spirit of those who ride it. KTM's story isn't one of failure, it's one of transformation, and the danger that comes when a rebel brand forgets how to rebel. The orange still burns bright, but if it loses the spark that made it glow in the first place, all that power will mean nothing. If you're still here, you're one of the riders who actually gives a damn, and that's who this channel is for. So, before you roll out, drop your take in the comments. Which brands survive, which ones are faking it, and which name you'd never let die. Hit like if this hit a nerve, smash subscribe if you want more unfiltered looks behind the logos, and ring that bell so you don't miss what they don't want you hearing.